This video will teach you the difference between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing resources, as well as how to effectively integrate resources into your academic writing. It's important to understand why it's necessary to use outside sources in your writing. Citing information you found in books, articles, or websites allows you to provide support to the claims and arguments that you're making. This gives you credibility as a writer. It also allows you to give examples of different points of view on a subject or call attention to a position that you agree or disagree with. Incorporating direct quotes into your writing allows you to highlight a striking phrase, sentence, or passage from a resource. It's also important to understand what information you need to cite in your writing. You need to cite anything that is not common knowledge. Many students think only direct quotations need citations and are surprised to find out that they need to cite information that they have read and then put into their own words. Doing so actually means that you have summarized or paraphrased information from the source. Those ideas and thoughts were initially not their own, so credit needs to be given to the author of the source. Images, graphs, and charts that you did not create also need to be cited. It's very easy to find images on Google, and those need to be appropriately cited. Also, your e-textbooks make it very easy to copy and paste charts and graphs into your written assignments. It's necessary to cite where you took the information from. Learning how to integrate outside sources into your academic writing is a skill that takes time and practice. Beginning writers tend to include a quote, then write a sentence, add another quote, then write another sentence, which can be difficult for the reader to follow. Try to think about writing a paper as having a conversation with your instructor or classmates. You are adding your own voice and opinions to a conversation about whatever your paper topic is. After defining your research question or thesis statement, your paper allows you to answer the question or provide support to the stance you have taken on a topic. As you write your opinions and analysis of a topic, you can weave in expert opinions or research to provide support or introduce a new perspective on the topic. Before we discuss each in more depth, we should start by understanding the difference between quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing. Quoting information means that you are taking information word for word from the source. Paraphrasing information means you restated in detail the source's main ideas into your own words. You do not include your own opinions or interpretations within the paraphrase of the source. A summary is a brief restatement of the source's main ideas in your own words. Let's start with a few tips on quoting. It can be tempting to just use only direct quotes in your academic writing since it is much easier than paraphrasing or summarizing a source. However, it's important to make sure that the quote supports your main idea. Only use a quote when putting it into your own words would take away from the meaning or impact. Also, it's good practice to prepare your reader for the quote with an introductory phrase or sentence. It helps the flow of your paper to lead into the quote, otherwise it can feel like the quote was just dropped into the paper. It's also good to explain the meaning of the quote or how the quote supports your main ideas. After the direct quote, you can explain to the reader its significance to the idea or argument that you're trying to make. For a direct quote, you always provide the author's last name, the publication year, and the page number in parentheses. Direct quotes always have the page number included or the paragraph number if there is no page number, like a website. Including the page number allows your reader to find the exact sentence within the resource you used. Below are two examples. In the first, you can see the quote is led into with the words, "It is important that we," and then the in-text citation is at the end of the sentence before the period. In the second example, the author's name is included in the sentence. According to Berkman, is how the writer introduces the quote. Remember, the last name and publication year always stay together for in-text citations. Because the author's name was included in the beginning of the sentence, Only the page number is listed at the end of the sentence before the period. As mentioned before, paraphrasing and summarizing takes practice. Here are a few tips to make it a little easier. Make sure to read the whole paragraph before attempting to put it in your own words. Also, make sure you completely understand what you are reading. If you don't, now is a good time to look up words in the dictionary or do some additional research. Next, write down the key information from the source. Identify the main points and key words of the paragraph. Now put the original aside, completely out of sight. Rewrite the passage in your own words using the key information you already wrote down. By doing this, you are significantly decreasing the chance of plagiarizing the material. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but as a guideline, it's helpful to remember the rule of three. 3 consecutive words that are identical to the original should be used as a direct quotation. A good summary or paraphrase will include all of the important details of the resource while staying true to the original meaning of the content. The summary or paraphrase should be in your own words. Often students think it's okay to use the source and simply change a few of the words in the original sentence or paragraph. This can be considered plagiarism. Let's take a look at an example. The in-text citation for a summary or paraphrase contains the author's last name and the year of publication in parentheses. Let's take a look at how the direct quote in our previous example could be summarized or paraphrased. As a reminder, this is what the direct quote was. You can see how the first example, the quote was paraphrased and the in-text citation comes at the end of the sentence. The second example summarizes the quote and uses the author's name in the sentence. A page number is not included since we are not directly quoting the source. Let's practice together with a new example. Pause the video so you may read the passage below and write down the key information. What did you come up with? Here is the key information that I identified from the passage. Here is an example of a plagiarized paraphrase of the passage. Feel free to pause the video again and identify in what ways the passage is plagiarized. In red, we can see the phrases that were taken directly from the original. Also, the paraphrase is missing an in-text citation. Here are 2 examples of the same passage paraphrased without plagiarism. Again, feel free to pause the video to read through them on your own. A common question students have is how to include in-text citations when their entire paragraph used the same source. Let's look at a few examples. This example is incorrect. A single in-text citation put at the end of the paragraph is not sufficient. As a reader, I would read this as only the last sentence of the paragraph is being attributed to Williamson. The next example is correct, but pretty ugly. An in-text citation has been put at the end of each sentence. The source is being cited, however, the writer could refine the way they integrate the source into the paragraph to include more of their voice. Our last example shows how the writer has effectively integrated the source into the paragraph. Frogs are excellent indicator species to measure wetland health. According to a recent study by Williamson, 2010, frogs are very sensitive to changes in pH caused by acid rain, and they are also very sensitive to different types of pollution. The study notes that when frog populations in a wetland plummet, one can be sure that something is going wrong in the wetland. In addition, when oddities in frog morphology appear, like frogs with 5 legs or 2 heads, one can assume something is going wrong in the wetland environment, Williamson 2010. Finally, it's important to also incorporate outside resources into your weekly discussion posts. This is a great way to gain a better understanding of the topic in addition to providing credibility to your writing. In the example below, you can see how the source was integrated into the discussion post with in-text citations and that the full reference is listed at the end. Remember, Be sure to cite any source whose ideas influenced your writing. You must always include an in-text citation and a full reference so your reader can find the original source. Also, it's useful to do your research and then create your references page. This way, you already have all the information you need to create your in-text citations. Then you can create an outline that documents where you want to incorporate your outside sources. This makes the process of writing your paper go much more smoothly. Do your best to correctly cite and incorporate resources into your academic writing, and when in doubt, cite it. For help with APA or writing assistance, check out our webinars, which are available live or recorded. You may also submit your paper for review by the online writing lab or work directly with a professional writing tutor. For specific questions, feel free to chat with a Rasmussen librarian.